Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. We are on day 6. We are on day 6 of the free session. You are in Lebanon and you have tried creating your account and no way. You need a different broker. This broker works in Lebanon. That's a tricky one. I'll check. Better still, you can still just do your research. You can still just do your research. Lebanon, just ask which broker is best in Lebanon. Do some research. Check the Trustpilot review of the broker. Just to make sure that the broker is good. That's basically how you have to do it. Yeah, if XM works in Germany, then you can use XM. XM works in Europe. No idea. I have to find out. You know what we always do during the first minutes of the session, right? Share the link, invite the others to join. Share the link, invite the others to join. As you can see, I'm not in the office today because there's no light in the office. I don't know why we have started having some light issues with that particular line. So I guess from January we'll have to get a generator. Business have not created accounts to confirm transaction during the day. Well, there are times that your first deposit might have that situation. But I bet those who have been using business will tell you business deposit is within the next 2 to 5 minutes. Let's share and invite the others. Let's share and invite the others. Let's share and invite the others. Please, if you have just joined the live, the 200 some people on the live, first of all, click the like button. The 200 some people on the live, click the like button and please do subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you get notified when we come online. You get notified when we go live. The highest thing you can do for me is just liking the live and sharing, encouraging others to join the live, and that's it. So we are 5 minutes. We are 5 minutes in. We are 5 minutes in, and we still have just 262 people on this live. So, like I explained to you guys earlier, the first day we had about 1,500, and it's dropping. Yesterday we had about 500, ranging around 500. It keeps dropping every day, right? That's it. That is how you shifted yourself. That's how you shifted yourself like this to be on the top. You get the work you personally are putting in. Not everybody's going to put in. Your success depends on your actions you take. Your individual success you take. Your individual effort you put. You might have come here with your friend. Maybe you introduce this thing on the first day with your friend or with your classmates. The work you put in is going to be only on you. The result is going to be only on you. At the end of the day, it's not going to be that me and that my friend started it. No. At the end of the day, it's going to be either Chantal succeeded, or Leslie succeeded, or Desmond succeeded, or Princey succeeded. It's not going to be Princey and Desmond succeeded because they started at the same time, or Princey and Desmond succeeded because nah. Your success depends on your personal effort. Your personal effort. You get. So put in your personal effort. Put in your personal effort. Maybe your friends that were here on the first day, they are not here again. They'll come back after 1 year and ask you that, but that thing, how did you go? They'll come back after 1 year and tell you that, okay, I want to be serious now. You get. As long as you are in this session up to this level, it therefore means that you are certain with what you want. You are serious about what you want. And if you look at those your friends that are not here now, they might be somewhere doing rubbish things. They might be either watching their movie somewhere, but they knew that a class had to be at 6:30. Even me, that is your teacher, there are times I do other things, but I will not forget the fact that I have to be here at 7:30. One more of you that is still learning. You get. One more of you that is still learning. One more of you that is still putting in that effort. That you'll be in day one and and you are not on 3. You're on day 3. You're not on day 5. And if you look at what actually caused you not to be here, you are going to see that there was nothing really serious. Even when I was in Bamenda with all the shayo and all the this up and down and there, I still know that I have to be in class at this time. So it's very normal. As I'm saying this now, it's very normal. Some of you will succeed, some of you will not, some of your friends will not succeed. Your success depends on your individual self, on the effort you put individually. You will never be at the same level with your friend. Put in your individual work and wait for your individual results. Put in your individual work and wait for your individual results. Is that clear? Like I said earlier, it's just about you focusing and getting the right knowledge. Apply what you learn. Focus, get the right knowledge, follow whatsoever I am telling you. I mean, if you actually want to succeed in trading, you just have to follow whatever I'm telling you. Follow the assignments I give you. I might be giving you an assignment now, prepare you for something tomorrow. Prepare for the class of tomorrow, or prepare for the class after. But now, if you don't follow, you are left behind. I've even went as far as putting a support team to catch up with you if you were left behind. Maybe you had network issues. That one is beyond our control, right? Yes. Or maybe light went off. That one could be beyond our control. That is why I put the support team in place. I'm definitely going to pay all of them as I've always paid them. But this month, they are not doing anything for me. They are just joining me to guide you guys towards that part of profitability. But will I pay them at the end of the month? Yes, I'll pay them. You have seen a number of them that are responding to you guys. I pay them every month. You get. So it does not mean that okay, this free session, this free month, I will not pay them because I will still at the end of the month I will still pay them. You get. So I don't know how some people don't take this serious. If you really are not taking this serious, then I don't know. Anyways, maybe you have money to come back in January and pay for mentorship. That's the only conclusion I can give. But yeah, today we had to look at trend lines, and trend line breakout. Trend lines and trend line breakout. Trend line and trend line breakout. So simply look from open my Metatrader. Open my Metatrader. I hope the assignment for yesterday has been done. Because if you haven't taken a trade, that is from the assignment I gave yesterday. That is how you allow yourself behind. I said it. If you had a difficulty, you had the whole day to chat with the support team, give your problem, and for it to be solved. Okay. Somebody said I'm still facing difficulty in placing a trade and making profit. By the way, let me see those who actually place trades. How many people have actually placed trades on their demo accounts? Good or bad, I don't care about how if it was good or bad. How many people have placed trades? That's what I told you guys. Place trade. Place a trade. Based off support and resistance. Okay. I see the number of people that have placed trades. Okay. So you placed your trades, right? Perfect. 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 What are the difficulties you had when placing that trade? What are some difficulties you had placing that trade? And how was your reaction when the trade was running, either in profit or in losses? What were the difficulty you had when placing a trade? And what was your reaction? How did you feel making losses or profit? I faced difficulty in placing my stop loss. SA and TP was bad. I was angry when when it went against me, how to set stop loss and take profit. My difficulty was just to analyze it, but I did place them. So how to place my stop loss and take profit when I was on loss. God, I almost faint. You almost faint on the demo account. My SA and take profit was bad. Knowing the perfect entry, trying to identify where to put the stop loss and profit margin. Okay. Used. Okay. I like it. I get your answers. How to set stop loss was just what I am ready to lose. Okay. Now I get most of the questions, most of the difficulties you faced while you were placing this trade. First of all, why did I tell you guys to place trades? I've not tell you guys to place this trade so that you make profit or losses. I told you guys to place this trade so that you have that feeling, how it feels like placing that trade and actually seeing it get into losses or get into profit. Right? That was the reason why I told you guys to place that trade. Now, you might have placed a trade. I told you guys that any trade you place must have a stop loss. Must have a stop loss. If your trade had a stop loss, let me see the people that had a losing trade, like their trade actually hit their stop loss. Let me see those who had stop loss and the trade hit their stop loss. Perfect. These are the people that are winning. Those who actually had a stop loss, as the market went against, it hit their stop loss. They were out. It's small amount, no matter the amount, but you do not blow your account. That is you already applying risk management, right? You place the trade, you put a stop loss, the market hit your stop loss. You are doing right. You are doing okay. You are doing perfectly fine. You understand? You are doing perfectly fine if the market actually hit your stop loss. Now think of it like this: if the stop loss was not there, you probably would have blown your account. And that is how people lost money in Forex, because of lack of knowledge, because they don't know the importance of stop loss. Just that alone. Now, when we are going to get to risk management, we are going to get into details where you will not only place a stop loss, but you will know how much you will lose if the stop loss hit. You get? That is risk management. You will not only have a stop loss, you will know how much you are going to lose if the stop loss is hit. You get? Now, placing stop loss on base of support and resistance, and knowing where to place your stop loss and where to place your take profit, we are going to come back to that when we do trend lines moving in accordance with stop loss. We are going to come back to that when we do trend lines moving in accordance with stop loss. Is that clear? So today I want us to do trend lines. Trend lines. I want us to do trend lines. For trend lines, we are going to be using the trend line breakout. We are going to have the trend line breakout trading strategy and the trend line trading strategy itself. We are going to have the trend line breakout trading strategy and the trend line trading itself. So I want to look for the trend line trading strategy. Okay, let me share my screen here.
Unternehmen suchen händeringend nach Textern, die ihnen dabei helfen können, mit den richtigen Worten mehr Kunden zu gewinnen. Und dabei helfen können, mit den richtigen Worten mehr Kunden zu gewinnen. Und mit den richtigen Worten mehr Kunden zu gewinnen.
Okay, can you all see my screen? So right here we have the trendline trading strategy, and I think I've sent this book to our Telegram channel over and over. But yeah, we are going to go through this book again. That's the trendline trading strategy, and we are also going to be looking at the trendline breakout trading strategy. That we could look at that maybe tomorrow, right? But today I want you guys to understand the trendline trading strategy, right? Trendline trading strategy. Now I'll go through. You can see the trendline trading strategy secret review. We are not going to be going through everything in this book because there are some things I'll just be explaining, so we'll no need to read through again. And I'm going to send this book to the Telegram channel so that you do more homework, right? So I'll just explain so you understand the concept. But right here on the first pages, you see that we have some examples of trend line trades being taken and how profitable you can be using trendline trading strategy. But right here, we have the overview of trendline trading strategy. The first time frame, you can use the trendline trading strategy on any time frame. Currency pair, you can use the trendline trading strategy on any currency pair, and indicators, no indicator. It's as simple as this. Paying attention to our chart right here, you're going to see that we have this diagram. We have this diagram, and right here we have the trend line that's been drawn. I see the trend line that's been drawn. That's our trend line. And on this trend line, we have some touches. This is the market. Touching the trend line and going up, touching the trend line and going up, touching the trend line and going up. Coming back, touching the trend line and going up. First thing first, how do we draw this trend line? How do we identify this trend line? Same as support and resistance, where we had our levels drawn like this, and the market respecting those levels, right? Market respecting those levels, that's our support and our resistance. The trend line, we have it slanted like this. You see that? For the trend line, we have it slanted. Not like support and resistance where we use our horizontal line. For trend line has its own uh, trend, its own tool. Let me go to stop sharing here. I'll come back here. Let me go and share. Let me go and share our chart. Let me go and share our chart. So come here. We go to Windows. Why am I not seeing this? Okay. Oh, we can all see my chart. If we can all see my chart, now looking at my chart, this is my trend line. This is my trend line tool right here. So I'll take my trend line and I'll draw my trend line. That's my trend line. Unlike support and resistance where we are going to have a support level, please let's concentrate and follow up. You're going to have a support level here probably, and maybe a resistance level up here. The market breaks resistance, come back, respect that resistance as support, then goes up. Trend line is different. We're going to have a trend line like this. This is my trend line, where the market respects the trend line. So I'll stop this sharing, and we go back to trend lines. Back to trend lines, right? Can you see my screen? Let me try to see what's wrong here. Let me try to share again. I hope you can see my screen now. So back to trend lines, right? How do we draw trend lines? What are we going to be looking at under this trend line trading strategy course? How to draw the trend line, how to identify entries under the trend line, right? So, like I said, this is a general setup for long entries or buy setup, right? Like we said under key concepts, long means buy, right? So this is a general entry for buy setups. This is our trend line starting from here and ends here. And this is the market. The market goes down, respect this trend line. It goes up, come down, respect this trend line again, goes up, come down, respect this trend line again, goes up, come down, respect this trend line right here again. Now, aside from the market respecting this trend line like this, what else can we notice on this particular diagram? We will notice on this diagram that we had a first touch of the trend line. We had the second touch of the trend line, but it was not yet our entry. The entry here is with the green, which means that this is our entry here on the third touch, right? Means that if you have here the market moving like this and respecting these levels, you don't have an entry on this first touch, you don't have an entry on this second touch, you have an entry on the third touch, right? You have an entry on the third touch. And on this third touch, if you have an entry on this third touch, where is your exit going to be? Now, some of you start understanding the support and the resistance level as we go along with the trend line. With the trend line, right, if you are entering this trade at this point, this is your entry. Your stop loss is going to be below this trend line. Why is your stop loss going to be below this trend line? Because the market has been respecting this trend line, 1, 2, which therefore means that it will respect this trend line again to go up, and that is why you are buying. Technical analysis is simply what the price has done in the past to predict what price will do in the future. So if price was able to respect this first point and it's able to respect this second point, then you respect the third point. And in the market, you only make money when you buy and it buys, or you sell and it sells. So how do you determine the entry point? When it has touched the first time, okay, touched the second time, okay, then on the third time now, when it touches that trend line, you are buying because you know that it has been respecting the trend line from the first and the second touch. Is that clear? So we have the first touch, the second touch, and on the third touch now to buy to the upside, right? Now, this is our entry. Our stop loss will be below here, and I've explained why. If the market breaks this trend line, then it will continue going down. So if you break this trend line and it has to continue going down, we are not going to use a trend line trading strategy. We are going to use a trend line breakout trading strategy. So we have two different strategies. We have the trend line trading strategy and we have the trend line breakout trading strategy. We have two different strategies, and I'll repeat. We have the trend line trading strategy and we have the trend line breakout trading strategy. Right? We are going to come to that. When we get to the trend line breakout trading strategy, I'll give you guys notes on that. For the trend line trading strategy, pay attention. The book is here. You can just be jotting down, right? So back to the trend line trading strategy, because that's what we are doing. We are not yet on the trend line breakout trading strategy. We are still on the trend line trading strategy, which is being respected, which is being used when the market obeys the trend line. The trend line breakout strategy is being used when the market has disobeyed. The market has not respected the trend line. It has break the trend line. Then we use the trend line breakout trading strategy. So for now, we are using the trend line trading strategy. The market respects this trend line. The third time, that is when you should place a trade. When the market respects a third time, that is when you should place a trade. Please take note of that. Okay. Now, at this point, we have talked about our entry and why we place trades on this point. Let's talk now about our exit. Where do we exit this trade? We are exiting this trade here. Why this particular zone? Why are we exiting this trade at this particular point? Trend line still work in accordance with support and resistance. If you draw a straight line here and you draw another line up here, what do you notice? What do you notice when we draw these lines? You will notice that if we're drawing support and resistance, the market respects this resistance level, come down, goes up, break the resistance level break. When resistance level break, what happens? When resistance level breaks, resistance becomes support. When resistance level breaks, resistance becomes support, right? So at this point, resistance level breaks, goes up, come back to retest now that resistance now as support. The market supports here and it goes up. That is trend line moving in accordance with support and resistance. But now I want to explain you guys something about the exit. Please let's pay attention. These things I'm saying here are very important. Very important. Why is the exit here? What price has done in the past to predict what price will do in the future. Price respected point A in the past. Price respected point A in the past. What does that mean? It means price will still respect that same point A in the future. What price has done in the past to predict what price will do in the future, that is technical analysis. When you're analyzing the market, analyzing price, you are looking at what price has done in the past to predict what price will do in the future. And if you have to do that, then you see that the market came from point 2 and rejected at this point B. Why did the market turn at this point B to go back down to this point 3? The market turned at this point A because there was a key level here. Because this was a point of interest. So it respected this level and came down. So if you are placing your buy trade here, on the third touch, it must be on the third touch, right? If you are placing your buy trade here, push to the upside. Your take profit is going to be here because the market has respected this same level in the past. Full stop. That is the reason why we have our take profit here. The previous high, the market respected that previous high. It's definitely going to respect this other high. It's definitely going to respect this high in the future. So we exit here. When we exit, what happened? It continued upward. No problem. We exited where we had to exit for the right reasons. Now the market comes back again to the fourth touch. On the fourth touch now, you do not have opportunity to enter on the third touch. Now the fourth touch has come back for you. On the fourth touch, you place your trade. Your stop loss is going to be below the trend line. Why below the trend line? So that should in case the market breaks that trend line and is going against you, stop loss automatically close the trade. But now, if you are placing this trade here, where is our take profit going to be? Our take profit is going to be on the previous high. This high, this previous high. Previous high, that's the high before the new high. Previous high. Why will our take profit be on this high? Who can tell me? Tell me why our take profit will be here. Why will our take profit be here? Can I see your answers? Yes, your SL will place anywhere below the trend line. That's below the zone. If you look at your chart. Anyways, we'll get to chart work. We'll get to chart examples. You're going to see. I'm just explaining this one. I'm explaining this one in details just to make sure we understand. We are going to look at chart examples. I'm happy you guys are getting it because it's the previous high. What price has done in the past, price might likely respect that level in the future. Perfect. I like that. You guys, you all need to take this thing real serious. You have to take this thing real serious. If you don't take this serious, you probably will regret in the next 1-2 years. In the next 1 to 2 years, you probably will regret why you do not take this serious. The good thing is you are having the right knowledge. That is the good thing. You are having the right knowledge. I can boast of that. You are having the right knowledge. Not too complicated, trying to make it as simple as possible. The right whatsoever you need to succeed on this chart. All you have to do is apply it, master your emotions, do it over and over, and get better at it. This is the best gift you should receive this year. Probably by now, you just look at it as a free session. But if you put everything into practice, then you definitely thank me very soon. Okay, let's look at sell setup. This is a buy setup. Now I want us to look at a sell setup. I want us to look at sell setup. So this is a sell setup right here. This is a sell setup right here. So a sell setup is the same. For a sell setup is the same. For a sell setup, you're going to have the trend line this way instead. For a sell setup, you're going to have the trend line this way. First touch here, second touch here, then we have an entry. You see that? First touch, second touch, then we have an an entry. But now at this point, first touch, we are not getting into that trade. Second touch, we are not getting into that trade. On the third touch, right? On the third touch, then we have a push to the downside. So you only get in on this trade on the third touch. You only get into this trade on the third touch. This is the third touch right here. That's when you have your sell. And if you are selling at this point, your stop loss is going to be above the trend line. Your stop loss is going to be above the trend line, right? And if the trend line is up here, then our take profit is going to be on the previous low. Now we are talking about the low because we are in for a sell. So you are in for a sell. That's we want to place a sell trade here for the market to sell. So that's why our stop loss is up here, so that if the market does not sell, then our stop loss is going to automatically close the trade. Down here now we have our take profit because the market respected this previous low. If the market respected this previous low, it is likely to respect that same low again in the future. If the market respected this previous low, it's likely to respect this low again in the future. So at this point, you place your trade up here, your take profit down here, and your stop loss. The market goes down, come back again on the fourth touch. We place a trade here, our stop loss is above, and our take profit is down here. One never knows. If it goes up and come back against our trend line, then we are going to continue. We're going to have another entry. Now, as we go ahead, we are going to look at uh, 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 valid and invalid trend lines. We're going to look at a lot more about trend lines. So now we have looked at these sketches now. Let's get down to details. Let's get down to details on trend lines. These are some examples. You see on the first touch here, on the second touch here, on the third touch, we have a buy. On the fifth touch, we have a buy, buy, buy right here, right? These are examples. Right here, we have the first touch, we have the second touch, then we have a sell, we have a sell. You see that? Those are live chart examples. So how do we do all of these? This is what we are going to be looking at under this course. This is what we are going to be looking at under this course. Firstly, we are going to be looking at how to draw a valid trend line. Can you draw a trend line? Yes or no? By the end of this session, you should know how to draw a trend line. When is a trend line still valid and when does it become invalid? By the end of this session, you're going to know when a trend line is valid and when a trend line becomes invalid. Understanding some common mistakes in drawing trend lines, right? Some common mistakes we make when trying to draw trend lines. We're going to look at that. How to know which trend line are most likely to hold and which ones will not, right? How to know which trend lines are most likely to hold and which ones will not. That is, which trend lines are most likely to be respected, right? And which ones will not. Support and resistance and how to use them to your advantage. That is support and resistance moving in accordance with trend line. So those who are just joining the session now, you can still understand this because we are going to be starting back from how to draw a valid trend line. So it's not yet late for you to invite that your friend. Before the end of the day, you want to come and succeed and your friend don't succeed. They start looking at you with bad eyes. But when you are concentrating in class and taking everything serious, they don't take it serious. Okay, first point, how to draw a valid trend line. How to draw a valid trend line. That's the first point. How to draw a valid trend line. Like I said, I'll not be giving you guys as notes, right? It's already there. You can just be taking down some points. There are two types of trend lines. We have the upward trend line and the downward trend line. So firstly, there are two types of trend lines. We have the upward trend line and the downward trend line. The upward trend line, that's the one that is pushing the market up, and the downward trend line, the one that is pushing the market down. So the market come and respect this trend line and goes back down. Respect and goes back down. Respect and goes back down. Unlike the upward trend line where it is pushing the market to go up. How do you draw trend lines? Easy, in two simple steps. Here are they. Firstly, identify the obvious peaks and troughs. Peaks and troughs is another word for highs and lows. As a trader, we have highs in the market and we have lows in the market. That level that the market goes up and respect up there and come back down is a high. That level that the market goes and respect down there and come back up is a low. So the lows and the highs. So first of all, identify the obvious peaks and troughs, that is the lows and the highs. Connect a minimum of two peaks in bracket or high with a line, right, from left to right, and you have a downward trend line. Connect a minimum of two troughs or lows with a line and you have an upward trend line. You see that? Now let's look at examples. I always like to deal with the examples. It's better this way. With the examples, you can see clearly here. Identify the peaks and the troughs. Peaks and troughs are highs and lows. These are the highs right here. In other words, the peaks. These are the highs. So first thing you do is you identify the highs and the lows. You see that? Then you connect a minimum of two peaks or two troughs. A minimum of two. So you must connect a minimum of two peaks. That's connecting this one to this one, or this one to this one. A minimum of two. It could be three. If the market came back up to this level like this, up to this level like this, you should have had a connection of three. But because the trend line does not bend and the market did not reach this level, we can't connect it that way. So we only have to connect this one. It touches the two and goes. We connect this one, it touches the two and it goes. You see that? Now, after you have connected, what next? You have connected, what next? You only have to wait for the market to come back to this your same trend line you have drawn. On the third touch now, you have an entry. We have down here, you see that we have our highs, that's our peaks, and we have our lows. Then we connect our lines from this end right down. We connect our lines from this end right up. You see that? Can you all see that clearly? Now I want us to do an exercise. I want us to go to your chart now. Go to your chart to see if you can identify these peaks. When you can identify it, you come and say done. Go to your chart. These peaks are not difficult to identify. These levels where the market has respected and gone back down above. Any level the market goes up, it goes up like this, then come back down. That is a peak. The peak, like a peak of a mountain. The height of the mountain. Those are the peaks. Then the lows. Any level that the market has come down, reach this level, gone back up. These are the lows. These are the lows. We cannot. I am showing you how to do it. Joy. Come and say done. When you are done, come and say done. Percy, you are not late. We are still identifying how to draw trend lines. Now, those who are saying done, next thing I want you to do is you draw your trend lines from left to right. You take your trend line and you draw from left to right. Let me show you guys on my own screen. Let me go to my Metatrader. Now, this is my Metatrader, right? This is my Metatrader. I will first of all delete this trend line I drew. But if I want to draw a trend line here, first thing first, I have to identify my lows. I'll identify this low here. I'll identify this low here. I'll identify this low here, right? Then I'll take my horizontal line and I'll draw from this low from left to right, and it goes up. That is my trend line I have drawn. If I go to a different card, or let me see a chart that I have set up. Let me make this chart my default so that I will not be setting up every pair open. So if you have your Metatrader 4 like this, let me just show you guys something. Metatrader 4 or 5 like this. You set up your chart like this. You want to come the next day when your Metatrader 4 has closed. It's going to go back to this default like this. So just set up one of the chart, then right click. You go to template, then take save template. So you're saving this template you have set up. So that if you open any other pair, it's going to be the same like this. You take save template, then you save it as default. Just spare the name. Instead of template name, just spell it as default. And that's all. Once you save as default, if you come and open a new pair, if you come and you look for a new pair, open a new pair here, you're going to see that it's going to be the same. So let me open this pair, chart windows. You see now that it is the same, right? Mhm. You see now that it's the same, right? So I want to look for a trend line on this chart. First thing, I'll identify my highs and my lows. I'll identify my highs and my lows. I'm doing this. You should be doing this. You also should be doing this. Drawing your trend lines. Identify my highs and my lows. Once I identify that, okay, I have a low here. I have a low here. I have a low here. So I'll draw my trend line up like this. This is all what I want from you. You said the trend line has respected and finally break up here. Finally break up here. And when it break up here, it goes down, come back, retest the trend line and continues downward. When it breaks, we use the trend line breakout trading strategy. We use the trend line breakout trading strategy. So if you are done drawing a trend line, just click done and we are going to continue. If you are done with your trend line, just click done. We're going to continue. Okay, let's continue. I hope we can now draw the trend line. Identify the highs and the lows. Draw a line from left to right. Wait for the second touch to confirm. Then we have the entry touch on the third touch. So we have the first touch and we have the confirmation touch. That second touch to confirm that that trend line is actually good. Then on the third touch now, we get in, right? So let's go now to the next. What we have, we still have a lot. We still have a lot. Let's go down to the next. So when drawing the trend lines, we have the inner trend lines and the outer trend lines. Same as support and resistance, we have the minor levels and the major levels, right? For support and resistance, we're always going to have the minor levels and the major levels. Support and resistance, the major levels are the levels on the higher time frame. The minor levels are the levels you see when you go to the lower time frame. On trend lines, we have them as outer trend lines and inner trend lines. So these outer trend lines are mostly the one you're going to find on the higher time frame, while the inner trend lines are the ones you're going to find on the smaller time frame. Now, for most beginners, the confusion begins when they look at the chart and see too many lows and highs. They just cannot figure out which two they are going to use to draw a trend line. For most beginners, the confusion always starts when they look at the chart and they see too many lows and highs. They just cannot figure out, right, which one they are going to go for. You understand? When you see too many lows and highs, you can just figure out which one you're going to go for. The answer is go for the most obvious ones, the most obvious levels. When you talk about the most obvious levels, it means levels that you can see and I can see. Those are the most obvious levels, right? Levels that you can see and I can see. So let's pay attention here. Let's look at this chart. How many levels can you see? How many lows can you see? On this chart, how many lows can you see? Can you show me which lows are obvious and significant? The chart on the screen, how many lows can you see? Let me have your answers. How many lows can you see? Please, let's like the live. Let's like the live. Let's like the live. Let's like the live. As we are liking, the live is going. How many lows can you see? Yeah, answer one time is enough. One time answer is enough. Okay. I see most people with 6, 4. This person with 12. I don't know where you got 12 from. Most people with 6 and 4. Now, let's identify it together. The most obvious lows. That confusion always comes when you see too many lows and too many highs. But the solution is to go with the most obvious lows. When we say something is obvious, what do we mean? When we say something is obvious, it means that you can see it, I can see it. It means that majority of us can see it. It means that all of us can see it even. You get the most obvious. You can see that the smallest number here is 4 and it continues upward, which means that at least all of us have seen at least 4 levels. Now let's try to identify by ourselves. We have the first low here, we have the second low here, we have the third low here, and we have the fourth low here. The most obvious ones that everybody can see. You get the most obvious one that everybody can see. So if you actually want to draw here, if you want to draw your trend line here, it's going to be straight like this. Meet this other level, meet this other level, and meet this other level. You see that? It's going to touch, 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 and touch. So with the obvious levels there are 4. The obvious levels there are 4 levels. The most obvious levels there are 4. That's the one that the trend line has touched. Because we will not draw like this. For those who are saying 6, we will not draw like this, then bend the line to come up, then come back down. Draw again, bend the line to touch this one up, then come back down. You understand? That is why this one like this one that it gives you that 6 is not there. It is the one that touches the trend line when you draw it directly, and the trend line is drawn directly. It does not bend. You get? So go with the most obvious levels when you want to draw your trend line. Go with the most obvious levels when you want to draw your trend line. The most obvious and the most significant. So that's it right there. That's it right there. The most obvious levels. You draw the most obvious levels. Now you can see clearly that the market is going to respect 1, 2. The market comes the third time, now you have your entry to the upside. The market comes the fourth time, you have your entry to the upside. Is that clear? And that is it right there. First touch, second touch, buy to the upside, buy to the upside. Can we see that? Can we all accept that? That we had our first touch, we had our second touch, on our third touch, now we have our buy. On our fifth touch, on our third and fourth touch, we had our buys. So go with the most obvious levels and you will not have any problem. Try it and see. Try it and see. You get it? Try it and see. Go to your chart and draw these trend lines and tell me if you no see them. See how the market respects them. It's there on the chart. These are just examples. First touch, second touch. That's the first touch of the low, the second touch of the low, the third touch you have your buy. On the peaks, first touch, second touch. On the third touch, we have our sell. These are just examples. The next thing we want to look at, valid and invalid trend line. When is a trend line valid and when does it become invalid? Valid and invalid trend line. When is the trend line valid and when does it become invalid? Valid and invalid trend line. A trend line is valid as long as it has not intersected significantly and price continues to obey it. A trend line is valid as long as it has not intersected significantly and price continues to obey it. A trend line becomes invalid when it has intersected significantly, and this could mean that the trend has now probably changed. Valid and invalid trend line. A trend line is valid as long as it has not intersected significantly and price continues to obey it. A trend line becomes invalid when it has intersected significantly, and this could mean that the trend has now probably changed. What does that mean? A trend line is valid as long as it has not intersected and price continues to obey it. A trend line becomes invalid when price has intersected, and this could mean a trend has now changed. Right? So if you look at this trend line here, or let's just go down, I think we'll get chart examples. Let's go down. Chart examples. Okay, let me use this one to here. Right here, we have our trend line. We have a trend line. This trend line is still valid as long as this price has respected the trend line and gone back down. The trend line becomes invalid when these candles have break the trend line and gone up. That could mean the trend has now changed and the beginning of an uptrend. You get? So the market could be on a downtrend, respecting the trend line. But when it comes and breaks this trend line, what happens? This trend line is no longer valid. And now the markets are giving us an uptrend. So the trend has now changed. From the downtrend it was giving us, it's now giving us an uptrend. Right? So let's go down and look at how do we identify to know when the trend line has changed or when the trend line is still valid. So how can you tell if a trend line has intersected significantly, which could mean that the trend line break out or not? There is no exact formula to determining that, but here are 3 things that I look for to determine if the trend line has actually break or not. There's no particular formula, but here are things you should look at. The candlestick that intersects the trend line, has it closed above or below it? The candlestick that intersects the trend line as it close above or below it. Second, the length of the body of the candlestick. The length of the body of the candlestick. Thirdly, the close of the 1 hour and the 4 hours candle. Now I'll explain this. Please pay attention as I explain this point. How do you know when a trend line has actually break? Because it's very important. When a trend line breaks, you have to use the trend line breakout trading strategy. Right? So a trend line is either valid when the trend line is being respected or invalid when the trend line is no longer respected. Right now, we are going to start with the first point. If the candlestick that intersects the trend line has closed above or below the trend line, meaning that if we have a trend line, like this, the candlestick that intersects the trend line, has it closed above the trend line to form the next candle, or it has break and gone up, then come back now and close below the trend line, allowing just the long wick up here. You get? If it breaks and goes up and close above, the trend line has been broken. But if it goes up, come back and close below, allowing now just the long wick up here, therefore this trend line is still valid. Talking about candlestick close and open, I cannot go back to that again because we had gone through this, and I even sent a link on YouTube, and I gave you Friday as your free day last week. We do not have a session last week, Friday, because I gave you that assignment that during this time of the classes, you should be looking at that video. Watch that video, detailed explanation on candlesticks. And if you have watched that video, make sure you follow that YouTube channel. One of the best YouTube channels for pure price action. I gave you Friday and Saturday because even on Saturday we do not have a class. That was enough time for you to catch up and watch that video. Back to class. So those who watch that video should be able to understand the candlestick that intersects the trend line as it closed above or below it, right? If the candlestick closed above an upward trend, if the candlestick closed above a downward trend line by a significant distance, that may be a signal that the downward trend line has now closed. The trend line is now violated. Anyways, this particular point 1, we are going to go through it using the chart so you understand better. The next one, the length of the body of the candlestick that intersects, right, is very important. We are going to look at chart examples so you understand better. Generally, the 1 hour close above or below a trend line has more significance than any other time frame. So yes, the market could actually break that trend line and close above or below, but it must be a 1 hour and above. So you have to wait for a 1 hour candle to break a trend line and close above that trend line before you can conclude that, okay, this trend line has now been broken. And I'll repeat that again. Generally, the 1 hour close above or below a trend line has more significance than any other time frame closes. Let's look at the chart examples. I think that one is going to be better. For example, this is a 5-minute chart showing the upward trend line being intersected and a couple of candlesticks closing below the trend line. This is an upward trend line, and this is a 5-minute time frame. On this 5-minute time frame, first touch, second touch, on the third touch now, you see that the market actually breaks the trend line and closes below. There are candlesticks here that have closed below, which on a normal, we could say that since the candlestick have closed below, therefore this upward trend line has now broken and probably the start of the continuation of a downtrend. But since it's on the 5-minute, it is not yet valid. We go now to the next time frame. On the chart is the 1 hour chart of a same pair above, showing the 1 hour candle which intersect but closed above the upward trend line. So if you look at now, you're going to see that the candle actually closed, it break, right? But came back and closed above that trend line. It came back and closed above that trend line. So if it comes and closes above that trend line, therefore that trend line is still valid. So let's look at what happened next. This is what happened next. So we had the first touch, the second touch. On this third touch, on the 5 minute, it shows that this market had break. But on the 1 hour, you can see clearly that yes, the market break the trend line, but did not close below. It went up and closed above, allowing just this long wick. And the next candle that formed started with a bullish candle, a buy candle. That's a confirmation that buyers are still in the market and are ready to push this market to the upside. So at that point now, you just have to take your buy. Once you take your buy at that point, you are good to go. So the 1 hour and the 4 hours, 1 hour and above candle close are very important. Look at this one. It went up, break the trend line, but come down here. What happened? It came back down, rejected and closed below the trend line. So that sell was still valid. The sell to push to the downside was still valid. I think that point is clear. So right here, you can see examples of trend lines that have actually been broken, have actually been violated. So you see that the trend line actually breaks, and this is which time frame? This is the 1 hour chart. On this 1 hour chart, you see that the candlestick actually break this trend line, close above, come back and retest the trend line, then push to the upside. So as long as it goes and break above and close above, the 1 hour candle closes above this trend line, the trend line is no longer valid. Now I'll go back to support and resistance. Same with support and resistance. When we have our support and resistance levels like this, most of the times for you to know that this support and resistance level has actually been broken, you should wait for 1 hour to close. You should wait for the 1 hour to close. So if the market left from here, support level, you bought on the support level, it came to the resistance level, you sold on the resistance level, it came back to the support level. If you break this support level, right, wait for 1 hour candle to close below this support level before you confirm that, okay, now we have to continue to the downside. Because once this support level is broken, the support level becomes resistance. But it could still break like this on the 5 minute time frame, and it goes back up and continues to respect this support level, right? So pay attention to make sure that these candles that breaks the support or resistance level, at least the 1 hour candle should close. There are times it breaks and 15-minute candle close and it works, right? But 1 hour is more solid. If it breaks and the 1 hour candle closes below or above, that level has been broken. So, but we are on trend lines. Like I said, we are going to be touching support and resistance while we are working on the trend lines, right? So now back to class. This is an example of a trend line that actually gets broken, right? This is an example of a trend line that actually gets broken. So we have the market break here, retest back and goes up. We have the market break, retest and goes up. Right here, we have a first touch, we have a second touch, and the third touch, it pushes to the downside. Comes here, right here. Now, right here, we are looking at the candlestick close. Right? Right here, we are looking at candlestick close. So at this point, notice that the candle closed above the downward trend line, but notice that it lacked momentum, shorter body. And the next bearish candle confirm this. The trend line is obeyed once more. Right? Trend line is obeyed. This candlestick closed above the trend line, but yes, when it closed above the trend line, how was it like? You see that the candle was already rejecting before it even closed above the trend line. It was already rejecting. And when it closed above the trend line, the next candle was a sell candle. The next, immediately the candlestick opened. Look at that. Immediately, it closed above the trend line, but yes, immediately this candlestick like this closed. This next candlestick opened for a sell candle. Immediately, this is a confirmation that that sell is valid and the sell is in. But if it closed here and continue with a buy candle, they would have known that, okay, yes, it's actually going now up to break this trend line accurately. Is that clear? Pay attention to candlesticks. Candlesticks are very important. Still on candlesticks, let's look at what happened here. This is a candlestick. It goes up, high momentum. This huge candlesticks, high momentum candlestick, right? The candlestick goes up, it goes up. Then at this point now, on the third candle, it's not really the best, right? On the third candle, the candle is not really the best. So the candle is not having strength, that strength to go up, right? Immediately, the next candle is a red candle. When you see this type of things approaching a trend line, know that the market is going to still respect that trend line. First candle was going up, second candle going up, and on the third candle now, the momentum is so small. It goes up, rejects back. So at this point, we have a sell to the downside. At this point, immediately this candle closed, the next candle is a sell candle. That's a confirmation that they sell to the downside. Candlesticks formation. Very important. Pure price action has to do with what price has done and reactions of candlesticks and key levels. That is the best and the simplest forex trading strategy. Look at all the big boys. Look at their charts. No stress. Candlesticks, key levels, no stress. Wait for your entries, wait for your confirmation. You get in, you make profit. You sell, it sells, you make profit. You buy, it buys, you make profit. If you sell and it buys, your risk management is there. You no blow your account. It's as simple as that. Anyways, we'll get to risk management as we go along. So let's go down again. 4 common mistakes in drawing trend line. When you're drawing a trend line, what are some of the mistakes you make? 4 common mistakes in drawing trend line. 4 common mistakes in drawing trend line. The rest of the book, you have to go through the rest of the book yourself. Tomorrow we are going to do trend line breakout. So today we are doing trend line trading, and I really wish we could do trend line breakout today. I really wish we could do trend line breakout today. Let me see how many minutes we have been on this session. We have been on this session for 1 hour 25 minutes. We'll see after time if the session is going to be long. We're going to make the session a 2-hour session. So that we go through trend line breakout trading strategy. So yeah, 4 common mistakes in drawing trend line. What are some of the mistakes people make when they draw their trend line? What are some of the mistakes we make when drawing our trend line? The first one, drawing trend lines through an obstruction. Drawing trend lines through an obstruction. We have the first touch, second touch. But now this obstruction in this middle, we don't want this. This obstruction in this middle is not for us, right? So there should be no obstruction between point 1 and point 2. Drawing trend lines through an obstruction. So this is the wrong. First of all, you should never make this kind of mistake again. You should never make this mistake. Sorry, not again. You should never make this mistake. Drawing through obstructions like this. Nope. Very wrong. Next, drawing through wicks and bodies of candlestick. You should draw a trend line like this to respect the wicks, not drawing through wicks and bodies of candlesticks. So this is the right trend line to draw. I mean, my hands are not straight. This is the right trend line to draw. And this one in this middle is a wrong trend line. Drawing through wicks and bodies of candlestick is wrong. So make sure when you're drawing a trend line, you should not obstruct. The third point, not drawing a new trend line and keeping a breach trend line. Not drawing a breach trend line and keeping, not drawing a new trend line and keeping a breach trend line. That's an offense. So for example, right here, there are times we could draw our trend line and the trend lines become invalid. There are times we'll draw a trend line like here. We'll draw a trend line to go down. That trend line is not valid, right? So normally we have our first touch up here, we have our second touch up here, but now this trend line has been intersected. This trend line has been broken. And so if this trend line is broken at this point, it's no longer valid. So you have to remove this trend line because you see that the trend line has gone up and candlesticks have closed above. It breaks again and come down, candlestick close below. Breaks and come up, candlestick close above, breaks and come down. The trend lines are no longer valid. The trend lines are no longer valid. So at this point now, we closed, right? At this point, it is closed. This trend line is no longer valid. So all what we have to do now is to draw a new trend line. Draw a new trend line right here. From up here. Whoosh. My hand is bending, sorry. So we draw a new trend line right. From here, it goes down. It goes down. Ah, yeah. But you can see the new trend line, right? This blue line. I just want to highlight it so that I see it clearly. This blue line, we draw our new trend line. Now you might be asking yourself this question. The new trend line now, has it not been intersected right here? Like the way this one was intersected? This new trend line is still valid. Why? Because it intersects. When it intersects and goes up, what happens? It comes back and respect that same trend line from above. Then continue upward. That trend line is still valid. Unlike this one that break and went up, if it had come back to respect this trend line here and continue up, it would have been still been valid. But once it comes back, breaks to the downside, goes up, breaks to the upside, come back, breaks to the downside, it is now a breach trend line and has to be deleted. It is a breach trend line and has to be deleted. Is that clear? Are we d'accord? Guys, please let's keep liking the live. And those who are just joining you, please subscribe to the channel. Are we d'accord with the trend line? Mistakes you should not make. So do not keep the breach trend line. Do not keep a breach trend line. The last mistake, drawing trend lines that do not touch the peak or the troops. When drawing your trend lines, they should touch your candlesticks. Your trend line should touch your candlesticks. If your trend line don't touch your candlestick, then it is not valid yet. If your trend line don't touch your candlestick, then it's not valid. If your trend line don't touch your candlestick, and I repeat, then it is not valid. Is that clear? And it might cause you to lose some trades because, like example right down here, you see that this trend line did not touch all the wicks. The trend line did not touch all the wicks. So we have the first touch here, second touch here. This touch, it did not touch this wick, and it did not touch this week. So you have missed this entry. You have missed this entry here because this trend line was not drawn well. If this trend line was drawn well, it should have touched from here. You should have come up and touched this level right here. From this level, it should have gone up and touched this other level. But because it came down here, you drew the trend line, not aligning to touch this second position. You missed this entry on the third touch. Because this third touch came down and did not reach your trend line. When it does not reach your trend line now, you think that, okay, you are still waiting for the market to reach your trend line. It's going to respect up here and go back up. And that's how you miss. So having said that, for mistakes we can face when drawing trend lines, let's look at strong and weak trend lines. How do you know if a trend line is strong? How do you know if a trend line is weak? Right? How do you know if a trend line is strong? And how do you know if a trend line is weak? Now, it's very simple. We look at the steepness of the trend line. You get? We look at the steepness of the trend line. For example, right here, this is a steep trend line. This is a weak trend line because it's steep. This is a weak trend line because it is steep. For example, we have the first touch here, we have the second touch here. But the trend line is steep. So when the trend line is steep, it is considered a weak trend line. You will not have the power to sustain the trend line. But when the trend line is a gentle sloping trend line, then we consider it a strong trend line. A trend line is considered strong or weak depending on the number of times it's going to respect, right? So if a trend line can respect for long, many times, then it's considered strong. If you respect just 1-2 times, on the third touch, it just break, then it's considered weak. And most of these trend lines that are going to respect just 1-2 times and break are mostly this steep trend line. So we have the gentle sloping trend lines, for example, like this trend line right here. You see a weak trend line. This gentle trend line here, you see that the market respected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With this now, you can have your entry on the second touch, on the third touch, sorry, have your entry on the fourth touch, have your entry on the fifth touch. Now I heard somebody asking me, he was touching the fourth time. Will you come back to the fifth time? Yes. You can expect it to come back to respect that trend line the fifth time when the trend line is gentle sloping. When the trend line is gentle sloping. But when the trend line is steep, when you respect 1 time, 2 time, third time, don't even expect it to come back. Be very vigilant, right? Don't expect that it's going to come back and respect. Most of the times you come back and break. So this helps you now to know that, okay, if this trend line is too steep, then if you respect 1 time, 2 time, it might likely respect the third time more, but it might not respect. We deal with probabilities. If you respect the third time, it will not respect the fourth time because it's steep, right? But when we have a gentle sloping trend line, it's likely to respect that third time, that fourth time, and even that fifth time. Now, I want us to look at trendline breakout trading strategy. Though we are not done with the trendline trading strategy, I want us to look at trendline breakout trading strategy. Or maybe we look at trendline breakout trading strategy tomorrow. No, let's look at trendline breakout trading strategy today. Now we are going to come and look at support and resistance moving in accordance with trend line, and we are also going to look at uh, 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 the trend is your friend. Those are the two important topics with this particular course. But now let's look at trend line breakout trading strategy. Trend line breakout trading strategy. So for trend line breakout trading strategy, I'll be giving you guys notes. With trend line breakout trading strategy, I'll be giving you And we are going to go through it very fast because it's not difficult. It's as easy as ABC. We are going to go through it very fast. We already look at the trend line breakout trading strategy. So looking at the trend line, we already looked at the trend line trading strategy, sorry. So now we are looking at trend line breakout trading strategy. And with this trend line breakout trading strategy, it's all about knowing what to do when a trend line breaks. What do you do when a trend line breaks? That's all about the trend line breakout trading strategy. So first thing first, why do trend line break? For example, this is a trend line. We are on this trend line here, right? This is a trend line. The market respects the trend line. The market respects the trend line on point 2. Respect the trend line on point 3. Respect the trend line on point 4. Then now let's take that. It comes back now and breaks this trend line. So the question is, why do trend lines break? First point might be due to a news release. First point might be due to a news release. First point might be due to a news release. Second point might be due to the market responding to a much stronger trend. First point might be due to a news release. Might be due to a news release. Second point might be due to the market responding to a much stronger trend. Might be due to the market responding to a much stronger trend. Might be due to the market responding to a much stronger trend. Might be due to the market responding to a much stronger trend. Might be due to news release. Might be due to the market responding to a much stronger trend. And lastly, support and resistance levels. Now let me explain those points. Why do trend lines break? Might be due to the market responding to a news release. The market could have been on a downtrend. For example, let's say USD CAD, USD Canadian dollars, right? Let's say this chart we are on now was a USD Canadian dollars chart, this chart, and the chart was on a downtrend. Then a news comes out on employment. The level of employment in the US has increased. Will this market continue to go down or will it go up? Let me see if you guys actually understood the lesson on the Forex price quote. I expect all of us to answer this question. I'll give the question one more time. This chart, let's take for example, this chart we are on, this chart is a downtrend, right? And the chart is USD CAD. USD CAD. If a news comes out on USD, the level of employment in US has increased. Would this chart USD CAD buy or sell? You will buy, so therefore you will go up. And if it has to go up now, what will happen? If the chart has to go up now, what will happen? This trend line is going to break, right? This trend line now is going to break and you go up, right? So that's why we say might be due to a news release, might be due to the market responding to a much stronger trend. When we talk about the market responding to a much stronger trend, the market might be responding to a much stronger trend in the sense that the market has been going down. At one point now, we have more buyers in the market than sellers. If you have more buyers than sellers, what happens next? If we have more buyers than sellers, what happens? If we have more buyers coming into the market than sellers, what happens? You see that the market now start buying, right? And for that reason, as the market is buying, what happens to this trend line? This downward trend line now breaks and the beginning of an upward trend line. So that's how that trend line is going to break. Is that clear? Are we d'accord with that? So now, two things to do when a trend line break. Now I want to look at the breakout strategy. So when a trend line breaks now, what do we do? Right? When a trend line breaks, what do we do? Two things to do when the trend line breaks. That's when this trend line like this. Once this trend line break, what do we do? Two things to do when the trend line breaks. First point. First point. First point. Do nothing and wait for another trend line trading strategy or setup to occur. Take down that. Do nothing and wait for another trend line. Do nothing and wait for another trend line trading strategy or setup to occur. Do nothing and wait for another trend line trading strategy or setup to occur. Have we taken another point? You do nothing and wait for another trend line trading strategy or setup to occur. Pay attention to that particular point. Two things to do when a trend line breaks. It means when a trend line breaks like this. When a trend line breaks, what do? First point is you do nothing and wait for another trend line trading setup to occur. What's a trend line trading setup? This is a trend line trading setup. This is a trend line trading setup. You wait for another trend line trading setup to occur. The second point, which is what we are going to elaborate on now, use the trend line breakout trading setup. Use the trend line breakout trading setup to make some money. Use the trend line breakout trading setup to make some money. Trend line breakout trading setup. Use the trend line breakout trading setup to make some money. The question now is, what is this trend line breakout trading setup? Right? Use the trend line breakout trading setup to make some money. The question is, what is this trend line breakout trading setup? Are we on track? I'll explain the second point, don't bother. Use the trend line breakout trading setup to make some money. So that is where the trend line breakout trading setup comes in. That's where the trend line breakout trading strategy comes in, right? Because now the trend line has been broken, so probably we cannot use the trend line trading strategy again. But we need something. The trend line has break. What do? The trend line has break. What do? We use the trend line breakout trading setup. What is this trend line breakout? What is this trend line breakout trading setup? Let's pay attention back to this chart. I'll just use this one for illustrations. Let's pay attention here. Let's pay attention. Let's pay attention. So now that the trend line has been disobeyed, now that the trend line has been broken, what do? We use the trend line breakout trading setup. And what are the trend line breakout trading setups? We have the immediate entry and the retracement entries. So we have the immediate breakout entries and the retracement entries. Immediate breakout entries and retracement entries. What is the immediate breakout? I'll start with immediate breakout. The immediate breakout is like this. The market respects the trend line, goes down, respect the trend line, goes down, respect the trend line, goes down, respect the trend line, goes down. But now once it breaks the trend line, what do? You enter immediately, it breaks the trend line. It means that at this point now you are buying, right? You are no longer selling because this trend line has been broken. So at this point, immediately it breaks, you enter your buy for the market to push to the upside. Is that clear? That's the immediate entry. So immediately it breaks, what do? To confirm that the trend line has actually break, we looked at that. What do? What do you wait for to confirm that the trend line has actually break? Let me see who is going to get it right. What do you do to confirm? Well, we looked at this when we were looking at trend line. When do we know when the trend line is still valid or invalid? Perfect. If the candlestick closes above the trend line, so if the candlestick closes above the trend line, we therefore confirm that it has been broken. The 1 hour candlestick, to be precise. So when the 1 hour candlestick breaks and closes above here, therefore this trend line has now been broken. Now we are using the trend line breakout trading strategy. So you enter when the candlestick closes above. Now you're entering your buy, and your stop loss now is going to be below this trend line. Why will your stop loss be below the trend line? Because the trend line cannot break and close above, then it come back and break again below. It's like you want to break this ceiling and go up, then start struggling to break the ceiling back from another area to come back down, which is going to be difficult, right? That's going to be difficult. So the immediate entry, when it breaks the trend line, immediately you enter. Or the second option for this buy entry, you can wait for it to break, go up, come back to retest the trend line, which is the retracement setup. So when it comes back to test the trend line now, you have another buy to the upside. So it's going to come back to this trend line and start consolidating now to confirm that this trend line has actually been broken. So you enter now on the retracement, or when it comes back to retest that trend line zone, then you buy at this point. Is that clear? Let me explain the sell. Let me explain to you guys the sell setup. So these are simply buy setups, right? These are simply buy setups. So let me explain the sell setup. The sell setup is going to be right here. The sell setup is going to be right here. The market respects, goes up, come down, respect, buy on the trend line, goes up, come down on this trend line, buy, it goes up, it comes down again on this trend line, buys and goes up. Now, if it comes down now and break this trend line, as it breaks the trend line, what do? Immediate entry for a sell setup. Immediately it breaks, the candlestick closes below the trend line, we have our sell entry, right? We have our sell entry. But if it breaks and goes down, retrace and come back, we have the retracement setup. So either ways, if you don't catch the immediate breakout, because most of the time they always break out with high momentum. If you don't catch the immediate breakout, wait for that retracement setup. And for me, the retracement setup is very powerful. So if you miss the immediate breakout, if it comes back to retrace to respect or retest this same zone, right? If you come back to retest the same zone, immediately it comes back, have your entry, have your sell entry. And when you're having that sell entry, your stop loss is above the trend line, right? Your stop loss is above this trend line. Your stop loss being above this trend line because if the market has to break back this trend line to the upside, then it will continue upward, right? If it breaks back and goes up, it will continue upward. Is that clear? Is the trend line breakout trading strategy clear? Is the trend line breakout trading strategy clear? Is it clear? The fact that other people are saying yes does not mean that you should say yes when you have not understood. Okay. Now there's a question that always comes up, right? There's a question that always comes up. Let's pay attention here. Let's pay attention here. This question always comes up. If you are waiting for a pullback and the trade keeps going up or down without any pullback, what do you do? That is, let's say you are waiting for a pullback, right? Like the market breaks like this, then you do not get the immediate entry. Now you're waiting for a pullback so that you have an entry here to sell, and it does not pull back. What do you do? That is the first question. If you are waiting for a pullback and the trade keeps going up or down without any pullback, that is, if the market breaks and you're waiting for it to pull back like this so that you have an entry here, and it does not pull back for you to have this entry, you just keep going down without this pullback, it does not pull back, what do you do? That is the first question. It therefore means you have missed that entry, right? It therefore means you have missed that entry. What do you do? Take down the question. Second question, what if you enter at the initial breakout and a pullback happens? The second question, what if you enter at the initial pullback, at the initial breakout, sorry? What if you enter at the initial breakout, that is, it breaks? What if you enter at the initial breakout, right? And a pullback happens. That is, immediately you break like this, you enter here, then it goes down a little bit, then pull back. What do you do? Now take the solution to these questions. The solution to these questions, let's take them down. Take a breakout when it happens. Take a breakout when it happens. Please, those who are late, we are ending the session in the next 5 to 10 minutes. The recordings will be on YouTube. Take a breakout when it happens. If it keeps going the direction of the breakout, take the breakout when it happens. If it keeps going the direction of the breakout, you'll be in huge profit. Take the breakout when it happens. If it keeps going the direction of the breakout, you'll be in huge profit. What does that mean? Take the breakout when it happens. It means as it breaks and that candlestick close, take the breakout. If it keeps going the direction, you'll be in huge profit. But if it pulls back, maybe back to your entry, at least you must have secured some profit or move your stop loss to entry. Right? If it pulls back, you must have secured some profit. When we talk about secure profit, that's you have removed your stop loss from here to down here below your entry. So if the market is going back up, you will close in profit. You hit your stop loss in profit, right? If it pulls back, you must have secured some profit or move your stop loss to entry. If you hit your stop loss at your entry, what do? You enter again. If it pulls back and hit your stop loss at your entry, right? What do? You enter again. Is that clear? Take that breakout when it happens. If it keeps going in the direction of the breakout, you'll be in huge profit. If it keeps going in the direction, you'll be in huge profit. But if it pulls back, you must have secured some profit or you have moved your stop loss to your entry. If you hit your stop loss at your entry, you enter again. Why are you entering again? Because even if you do not enter the initial breakout, you probably will enter when it comes back to pull back. You use the retracement strategy to get in again. So why not get in when it's coming back and retracing to hit your stop loss? If you hit your stop loss here, this is just simply another entry for you to enter again. Is that point clear? Does that answer your questions? Does that answer your questions? Very clear, very clear. Yes, yes. So that is that for trendline breakout trading strategy. So today's session, we have looked at trendline trading strategy and trendline breakout trading strategy. But if you don't apply this, you only have it theoretically. So what you have to do now is to go to your chart and apply all what you have learned today. You know how to draw your trend lines. Can we draw our trend lines? Can we all draw our trend lines? Now, if you know how to draw your trend lines, you know how to get your entries on your trend line. After the first touch, second touch, on your third touch, you know how to draw your trend line. You know where to put your stop loss and you know where to put your take profit. And if the trend line breaks, the trend line does not respect, you know what to do using the trend line breakout trading strategy, right? So if the trend line does not respect, you use the trend line breakout trading strategy to make some money. Is that clear? If that is clear, then we are good to end the session for today, right? If that is clear, then we are good to end the session for today. At least we have been on this session for 2 hours exactly. I will not want it to be longer than this because when it's too long, it gets boring. But we have covered uh uh trend line trading and trend line breakout trading. Now, for those who have not understood, like I said, some of you are workers. You probably just came back from work. You are tired. Rest and watch the video again, maybe at 2 a.m. or early in the morning. Go over the recordings over and over. Go over that video over and over. Any lesson you have not understood, go over it over and over. But aside from that, the support team is still there to answer your questions. The support team is still there to answer your questions. A good number of people have understood. So you can visit uh uh the free the communication channel. You ask there, a lot of people have understood, they'll be able to explain to you. You get. Stop asking too many questions at once. Put repeating questions. It's not going to help. So your assignment for today is to take a trade based off the strategies you have learned. Place a trade based off the strategies you have learned. That is your assignment for today. Try to apply what you have learned today. take trades based off what you have learned. Those who were not in the session, like I said, today we were ranging within 300, 400. That's how we keep dropping to get to that profitability. At the end of the day, maybe we'll have just 50 people that will push through to the end. Maybe we'll have just 100 people that will push through to the end out of the 1,500 people we had on the first day of the live. So that is that for today. Make sure you apply what you have learned. That is your assignment. And if you have any issues, contact the support team. For those who are asking about verification of their account, personally for me, I'm still working on that just to be sure. You have the right document to verify your account and to make sure no one is being scammed. As some people are trying to do it, contact me to proof of residence. Don't do that. The only people you should be contacting for proof of residence should be the support team. Some people have already started complaining about scam issues in the group and stuff like that. I will not want that. So that's why those who were talking about verifying their account or verifying accounts of people, I've told them to stop because I don't want anybody to fall victim in my group. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to look at our trend line moving in accordance with support and resistance, and we are going to look at the trend of the market, understanding the trend of the market, how to understand the trend of the market, if it's on an uptrend, if it's on a downtrend, when does the trend line, when does an uptrend stop and the beginning of a downtrend, and stuff like that. We are going to round up the trend lines tomorrow.